Sup, back with more Great Ace Attorney 2. Resolve. Game. Let's go. Oh yes, I stabbed the Englishwoman, and it's that very fact that proves I'm innocent.
Hold it!
Chotomate. So you do admit that you had murderous intentions towards Miss Brett, then? Huh. The woman's very existence offended my sense of justice. Your sense of... He's claiming some sort of righteous indignation? I stand in the light of the heavens, cower before the gates of hell. Come forth, divine lightning. Indignation. Oh shit, sorry. Sorry. Let me go back to that line. I was too busy quoting Tales. She was pure evil, a cold-blooded killer who'd committed murder right here on our empire's soil. But did our good-for-nothing government do anything? Not a chance, so I had to step in. Fly the flag of justice. Put things right for the people. Yes, it was my civic duty. That's what drove me to do it. So, in summary, murderous intentions, then. Whatever you want to call it, the point is this. That Englishwoman was a blight, so I had to do what was right. For society. Because we live in one. Yet a real wrong was done by the student girl in the dock, a crime for which she must pay. Obviously, because the poisoning was nothing to do with me at all. Okay, but what if you stole the poison? What if someone stole the poison, and then you stole the poison from them, creating a chain of stealing? Because why would I have bothered to stab the woman if I'd already poisoned her? Oh shit. I forgot I gotta press the statement. So you still maintain that you didn't give the poison to the victim? Obviously. That'd be like putting a belt on your trousers when you were already wearing bracers like these. The accused administered the poison, following which the witness stabbed the victim. An unforgivable act, certainly, but not one of murder. That crime rests on the accused's shoulders. That is how the law works. You see, Yoko. Who knows, you may even learn something here today. 2 consecutive attempts on her life in the space of minutes. Quite a day for the victim. Yeah. A murderer who someone attempted to murder, but then was murdered by another murder. Do something that evil and you've got it coming. That's how the law works. The law of reckoning. That's not the kind of law this court upholds. You will reiterate why you were compelled to stab the victim then, witness. Yum dum, yadum dum dum. When I heard the student girl and that pompous English woman arguing nigga at my goat. What exactly were they arguing about? About what happened in that restaurant 9 months ago, that's what. The student girl was laying into the Englishwoman for killing her beloved mentor, Dr. Wilson. Yes, John H. Wilson. A professor of medicine, invited here from England by Professor Mikotoba, no less. Right, but the Englishwoman just jeered. Her case was to be heard by the British Consular Court in Shanghai, however. Sorry, I'm bad at pronunciation. There was little doubt that she would simply have been acquitted and sent back to her homeland a free woman. It was eating that student girl up inside, you could see it. I really felt for her. Choto. What? Huh? Huh? Why are you here? I can't stand here and listen to this tripe. Ray? I was not expecting her to show up. Young girl, you stand accused here. You can't just blurt out whenever you feel like it. No, you can't. Sorry, but I'm in the middle of some very important testimony here. Just keep quiet and listen. But this awful man is making all of this up. Susato, please, you have to make them listen. Who the fuck's Susato? Return to the dock at once, Membami-san. We are in the middle of a cross-examination.
Also, who in the hell is Susato?
Hold it!
Your Excellency, please, I implore you. That journalist is clearly not a trustworthy witness. Exactly, he's a filthy, rotten, black-hearted, bigoted, dirty, great-peeping Tom.
Whoa, take it easy there.
Please, I really think the court should hear what the defendant has to say. Your Excellency, I see no need whatsoever to entertain the accused's remarks.
I will grant the requests of the defense.
But Your Excellency!
This is likely to be the final cross-examination of these proceedings. As such, I believe it would be ill-advised to stifle the defendant's obvious concerns. So, whilst recognizing that this contravenes regular protocol, I hereby call upon the defendant to speak.
Oh. Thank you so much, Your Excellency.
So what, are we gonna get like an added statement from her? Seems like it.
Damn. This is some next level shit for this series. It's not often that you're in the middle of a cross-examination and a frickin' other witness shows up mid-cross-examination to add a statement. It was nothing to do with Dr. Wilson. We were discussing the stolen poison.
Hold it!
The stolen poison that killed the victim, you mean? I suspected her of being the one to steal it. I mean, just think about how she killed Dr. Wilson.
That's true. Additionally, Miss Brett certainly had knowledge of the new poison. But surely it would be no easy task to steal a highly secret toxin being developed by the government. Indeed, all visitors to the laboratory are thoroughly searched when they leave. Even if a thief managed to avoid being seen by myself or a colleague, getting the poison out would be very difficult.
That's true! I pestered Professor Mikotoba until he agreed to show me the poison when I visited his laboratory. But as I left, I was searched from top to tail.
Miss Brett rather bluntly revealed the existence of the toxin we'd been developing, you see. And since Soseki-san expressed such an interest in it, I felt unable to refuse. Obviously, I gave nothing away other than the fact that it was an extremely potent substance.
I'm very ashamed of myself. It's just that I've had a singularly terrible experience with a deadly poison. I wanted to look my old enemy in the eye. Surely you can understand that? To find out if my suspicions were true, I confronted Miss Brett about the poison. I told her that if there were to be an incident involving it somehow, it wouldn't just be the university. The military would be dragged into it. The whole government, even. It would be a complete disaster.
And how did Miss Brett respond to your concerns?
She just curled those beautiful lips of hers and said she didn't know the first thing about it. In English, actually.
Oh yes. Mini-Memo-san, one small question if you don't mind. I do mind, can't you see I'm busy? Clearly you were outside the beach hut listening in whilst the defendant and Miss Brett were conversing. Presumably then, it was you who wrote this article about what you'd heard. Exclusive. Deadly poison stolen from Yume Medical Research Laboratory. The story was published in this morning's edition of Shoyu News. The details are too accurate for it to have been written by anyone else. Sorry, don't know what you're talking about.
Yes, look at this! The entire article is almost what I said to Miss Brett, word for word. Well, Mini-Memo-san?
As a journal and as a citizen of a free country, I don't have to reveal my sources. That's a founding principle of Mini-Memoism.
Father's clearly right about this. That reporter did write that article, and he based it on what he overheard from outside the hut.
The details of the poison article have been updated in the court record. An article about poison that was stolen, the reporter Mini-Memo-san based it on information he gleaned by eavesdropping. Okay.
So that's what it was all about. You were trying to cover up the fact that you were listening in. That's why you came up with that stinking story about me arguing with her.
Shut up! My stories never stink. Look, whatever you say, little girl, it doesn't alter the facts. Your Excellency, there's something I want to say, and I want it to go on record. Oh, another statement? Another? Very well, you may amend your formal testimony. Oh, he pissed and he tired. The point is, if you're poisoned someone, there'd be no reason to then go and stab the person as well. Okay. Poison article. Following a lecture you made by Sotsuki-san on 11th August, it came to light deadly poison being secretly developed in the university's forensic science laboratory was stolen. Even the smallest amount entering the body, either via the mouth or via a wound from a poison-laced blade, would prove fatal in minutes. Okay. Occur in minutes, starting with impaired breathing and ending with acute contraction prior to death. Okay. Let's press this one. Might as well press it. Perhaps you doubted the efficiency of the poison and sought to make sure the victim would die. That's horse done. What? That would be like pouring pepper on your Chinese ramen before you'd even tasted it. Completely reckless. Although, it might surprise you to learn that I am a bit of an impetuous pepper pourer, and as it happens, once the victim had taken the poison, she would have been only minutes away from death. And yet this man then proceeded to stab her in the back as well. There must have been a good reason for that. If it was the reporter who gave the poison to Miss Brett, then clearly he must have done it prior to Ray entering the hut. Yes, that's undeniable. But between him leaving the hut and the victim being stabbed, there was one very crucial change in the situation. Sorry? What change? The reporter overheard the conversation between Ray and the Englishwoman. Ah! Yes, that's it! That's when Minamimo-san first found out the exact nature of the poison he'd used. That could be the key here. Oh. If the victim had unwittingly taken the poison already, the reporter would have had no reason to stab her. On the face of it, that logic sounds entirely reasonable. But there's no question that this man was responsible for Miss Brett's murder. If we could think of a plausible explanation as to why he might have stabbed her, even after the poisoning, I feel sure that everything would drop into place. That's what we should be looking for. Yes, I agree, and in order to do that, I must try to glean more information. Alright. I think it's pretty obvious that we gotta present on this. Reason to then go and stab the person as well. Is there anything? No, it's just a simple ass blade, nothing else about it. Okay. Would prove, maybe it's because of how long it takes? Objection! We'll see. Well, I can think of one reason. What? But before I explain, I'd like you to confirm something for the court. Did you glean all of the information for this newspaper article from what you overheard outside the hut? Of course he did! There could be no question of that. After all, when we were all in the laboratory together, all we were told is that it was a terrible toxin. And there is one more important fact to consider. According to the witness, Minbami-san's verbal attack against the victim began as soon as she entered the hut. In other words, it would have been impossible for her to have slipped the poison into Miss Brett's drink. Objection! Where are you going with this, counsel? Minamimo-san has made it quite clear that he observed every single thing that happened in the beach hut. If the defendant had somehow found an opportunity, this man would have seen it. Ugh. means that Miss Brett couldn't have been imbibed by... couldn't have imbibed the poison whilst the defendant was present. Sorry about that. In fact, it must have been administered to her before Membami-san entered the hut. Yes, very articulately put.
When I walked into the hut, I immediately started to press Miss Brett about the poison. At which point, Menimemo-san overheard some worrying information. Worrying information? What worrying information?
Open book.
The information which he subsequently included in his newspaper article, namely, that the poison was being developed in strict secrecy, that it couldn't be readily obtained.
Absolutely. In fact, that's quite an understatement. The only possible place it could come from is my lab.
And furthermore, anyone afflicted by the poison would exhibit telltale signs in death. The extreme constriction of the pupils. Yes, it's quite stark when you see it. There are other poisons that show similar symptoms, but not among new substances that are undetectable. It's funny that they always talk about how the telltale sign is, like, constriction of the pupils, despite the fact that we still have never even seen Miss Brett's eyes. In other words, it would be clear that the victim's life had been ended by the use of this particular poison, which would reduce the number of suspects to only a handful of people.
Ugh. Everyone in my laboratory is aware of the unique properties of the toxin we've been developing. None of them would be foolish enough to attempt to use it for some nefarious deed. Membami-san being no exception.
Therefore, we can conclude that whoever administered this unique poison to the victim was a layperson, unaware of its telltale properties. Why do you keep talking about Telltale? They don't even make games anymore. In other words, someone like you. Right-hand Memo. Shit, I messed up the big moment. Also, the good theme is here.
Grr!
It was you who stole the poison from the laboratory that day. And it was you who administered it to the unwitting victim. But you quickly realized that was a terrible mistake. Because the poison caused such unusual symptoms and was so traceable. As you listened in from the far side of the beach hut's thin walls, you learned of these facts. But you'd already given the victim the poison at that point. It was too late. So you hatched a plan to disguise your mistake. A plan that involved stabbing the victim in the back through the reed screen. But what good could that possibly do? Isn't it obvious, Counsel? The plan was to kill Miss Brett before the poison could take effect.
Once in the blood, the poison causes the onset of pupil constriction. But he had hoped to precipitate the victim's death before that happened, hadn't he?
Exactly. Because without any revealing signs of the new secret poison's use, no one would ever have suspected.
This is extraordinary.
Yes, the effects of the poison meant it would be too easily identified, so the killer had to mask its use. Which he attempted to do by plunging a knife into the middle of the victim's back. Get owned.
Order. The argument presented is sound. The court is satisfied that it warrants consideration. Does the prosecution have a counter-argument it wishes to put forward?
Well, there are a number of... yes, I counter completely. Objection! The prosecution's evasive response clearly shows that in much the same way as he nurtures the remnants of his top knot, he is clinging to lost hope. God damn the personal attack. Lost hope? Utterly destroyed. Ratioed. Cancelled.
Oh, what you gotta say? Well, you got some final... Oh, shoot. He threw his hat. You pathetic, useless, fallen samurai!
Fallen? Who are you calling fallen? My merchant...
I don't need a counter-argument. Damn, that pose.
What are you talking about?
It should be blatantly obvious. I stole the poison, you say. Gave it to the victim, you say. Stabbed her, you say. Lots of fine theories. But I don't need a counter-argument, because you don't have an argument yourself. Where's your evidence? Yes, you make it all sound so plausible, don't you? But without evidence, it means nothing. Whereas I base my news on facts. Facts? What do you mean? Explain yourself. I mean what the professor said earlier in this trial. It's all here in my many memos. Every word, every slip of the tongue, all noted. That's why what the Shoyu News is famous for. It's the power of the printed word. But surely it would be no easy task to steal a highly secret toxin being developed for the government. Indeed, all visitors to the laboratory are thoroughly searched when they leave. Even if a thief managed to avoid being seen by myself or a colleague, getting the poison out would be very difficult. How's that then? Blown the story wide open? See, I write in many memo, a mere reporter from the Shoyu News. Couldn't possibly have stolen that poison from the professor's laboratory.
Ah! But there can't be any question of it. Yeah, he must have stolen the poison that day. He stole it and used it to kill. And if that's the case, as you've identified, the poison itself is the definitive evidence we need. Because whoever stole it from the laboratory that day is the true culprit here.
What's your point, you annoyingly handsome country bumpkin?
My point is this. There is one way that you, Memo-san, could have stolen the poison that day.
I have heard enough verbal conjecture now, thank you. What the court must be shown is evidence. Shown with facts, not logic. What proof do you have that this witness stole the poison on the day in question? Okay. Hold up. We said that there's... It said that there's still a very small amount of... Wait a second. Hold up. Hold up. Hold up. Hold up, hold up, hold up.
This must be the little reservoir that holds the ink.
Yes, you fill it by drawing ink from a bottle up through the nip.
Is something wrong, Father?
Just that there doesn't actually appear to be any ink in there, that's all.
Oh yes, you're right. It's pretty much empty. Well, it could be on the verge of running out, I suppose.
Huh. The fact that we don't see any ink in there. Sure.
It can't be. Is it actually this?
Take that!
The proof, Your Excellency, is this fountain pen. Oh shit, I actually caught it!
Ugh. A fountain pen? How can that possibly be relevant?
I was right. These magical pens somehow seem to have enough ink to write many thousands of kanji characters. I believe they arrived in our country for the first time some 15 years ago now. I swear by a weasel hair calligraphy brush and nothing else. These newfangled pens are merely a fad.
Well, as a forward-thinking man of words, I love my fountain pen. Suck up a soup column of sumptuous ink, and one's work is awash with words in the blink of an eye. Like the new poses, Sosuke. You look fabulous, my man.
That's right. Fountain pens have a small reservoir in the barrel, into which ink is sucked up through the nib of the pen in order to write with later. What does all of this talking of sucking up ink have? And just as it's possible to suck ink up into the reservoir, it's also possible to eject it through the nib again, of course.
My words! Could this really be?
Well, Mini Memo-san. When you saw the deadly poison before your eyes in the laboratory that day, you used your fountain pen, your very lifeblood, to steal some of it, didn't you? By siphoning the poison up through the nib and into the pen's reservoir. Grr!
This is the end for you.
More absurdity! That never happened! True, we've heard that there were procedures in place to prevent thefts like this from the laboratory. But wouldn't anyone have thought to look inside a fountain pen of all places?
No. I'm a little ashamed to say that for fear of offending our guests, such a detailed search would not have been conducted. Well, this is quite startling, I must say.
I remind the court that this pen was found in the clutches of the victim when she died. In other words, it was dropped at the scene by Mini Memo-san. So the crucial question is, when exactly was the pen dropped?
Are you suggesting...
The natural conclusion is that in your haste to act whilst the victim was distracted for a moment, you drop the pen after you empty the poison from it into her glass. Objection! There could be any number of alternative explanations. For example, the witness could have been using his pen to write down details of his conversation with the victim. And when shocked by one of her outrageous answers, the pen fell from his quivering hands. Objection! No, that can't be. If it was, how do you explain why the pen was devoid of ink? What? As you can see for yourself if you examine the evidence, there would appear to be no ink present in the reservoir. What newspaper reporter goes to interview someone with nothing in his pen? No, the pen was dropped after the poison that filled its reservoir had been emptied into the victim's glass.
Witness, what do you even have to say in your defense? So this is how our modern justice system works, is it? So what if the ink in my pen runs dry? So what if my pencil snaps? You know, I feel like this dude's freaking going to... The way he's gonna break down is he's gonna pull his suspenders so far that they're gonna snap and, like, hit him in the face. Oh shit. I can always claw my way back into the game. I have plenty in reserve. Yeah!
Bro just threw pencils.
Oh damn. You claim I sucked the poison up into my pen. That's wild speculation, nothing more. If you thought you could bring down a fine, upstanding citizen with a trick like that, think again. It looks as though it's going to take one final decisive blow to finish this matter. As I see it, the situation is now very simple. It rests upon whether or not this witness did indeed steal the poison on the day in question. And therefore, it all depends upon whether or not the defense can prove that he did it with evidence. Ha! No such evidence could possibly exist! Objection! I don't know why you turned British there for a second.
Mini Memo-san, this is how our modern justice system works.
What?
In the courtroom, evidence is everything. Something you would do well to remember. Because we are well past the point of speculation at this stage, I assure you.
Very well then, I call upon the defense to present the aforementioned evidence.
This is it then. This will be the final piece in the puzzle.
It's
deep breath. The defense can prove, by means of this item, that it was the witness's pen that was used to seal the poison. By means of this item. We don't have many items. The label appears to be written in a foreign language that I don't know.
It's German, so your knowledge of English is going to be of little help here, I'm afraid.
Couldn't you just have written medicine on it in Japanese? Then we'd all be able to read it.
German is the international language of medicine, my dear. But yes, I can certainly see the merit in labeling the bottle in Japanese. Though I'm not sure medicine would be entirely appropriate. Anything else? Maybe... I don't think it's this. Death is believed to be due to trauma to the victim's lung from a knife blade. Piercing the lung, resulting in a fatal hemorrhage. Death would have occurred within minutes. I have two choices. I have two... Special indicator solution for an... Oh, duh, the region. I don't know why it took me so long. This is how you're supposed to detect it. Counsel, what is this what is that bottle?
This bottle contains the unique chemical reagent that can identify the poison in question.
Yes, that poison is an entirely new synthesis of alkaloids developed by my colleagues and I. It would be impossible to detect traces of it by any other method.
Or from another perspective. Simply with this chemical reagent, anyone at all could check for traces of the poison.
A reagent? What?
One drop of the contents of this bottle on the tip of your fountain pen, Memo-san. It's all it will take to solve this case beyond all reasonable doubt.
No, you can't. I won't.
You won't what? Frickin' bootleg Wolverine ass. Your crimes are bad enough, but at least know when to admit defeat. Your Excellency, the defense requests permission to carry out the test on the fountain pen at once.
Oh shit! Yo, he going wacko! This isn't my fault. The Empire drove me to this. Trying to hold its head high as a civilization that took up arms in the power of the mighty pen. I fight over the all in the name of justice and righteousness.
Susato, with me! I'm there. Hiya! Yo! Did I do it right? That was the Susato takedown, wasn't it? Holy shit, that was awesome. Not quite. That was a Ryutaro takedown. Holy shit, that was awesome! The instant the first drop of the reagent touched the nib of the fountain pen, it was clear to everyone present.
Oh, look at the little depressed little baby, man. When I saw it in there in the lab, the poison, the devil got hold of me and I decided to do it on a whim. I excused myself and emptied all the ink down the sink in the bathroom, washing the reservoir out carefully.
And then you waited for an opportunity to suck up some of the poison, didn't you? Into your fountain pen.
Yes, that's right. Answer me one thing, Memo-san. Why did you steal it? For what purpose? Isn't it obvious? To find out what it was made of and expose it in an article. I mean, it was a secret project after all. Too juicy for a journal like me to pass up.
Then why did the English woman end up dead?
Did she find you out? I went into that hut intending to quiz her on her situation, that's all. As a reporter. A known killer enjoying full freedom. Evading justice by leaving the country. I told her what I thought about it. And she just laughed in my face!
Oh, what's this? A Far Eastern caveman purporting to practice journalism? Really, you must learn the difference between reporting and listening at doorways, you ignorant plebeian.
What did you call me?
This country with its pretensions to a justice system, to a free press, it's really very depressing. You see our superior ways in the West, yet you lack the mental capacity to emulate them. Get out of here, you oaf. Get out and crawl back into the cave you came from.
God damn. That's when I remembered. About the deadly poison I happened to have in my pen at the time. What a terrible tale. In my head, I knew I should just get out of there as quickly as possible, but I couldn't. I couldn't let her get away with what she'd done, when she clearly had no remorse at all. I suppose it was my journal spirit getting all fired up. Well then, talk about an end to a case.
I'd like to ask you something.
Yes.
You often talk about justice. But surely as a journalist, you could have used other means to deliver the justice you sought.
There's no justice in the press.
Sorry?
After that trial 9 months ago, I kept digging and digging to find out what had happened in that courtroom. And finally, I discovered the truth. It was a cover-up, that's what it was!
A cover-up? What do you mean?
I would remind you of our position, witness. Be careful of what you say. Oh, come on. Doesn't it strike you as strange? We're suddenly not allowed to convict a foreign national. Consular jurisdiction should never have come into it. And yet that puffed-up Englishwoman is going to sail away into the sunset a free woman. The only possible explanation is that behind the scenes, some deal had gone down between Britain and Japan.
What sort of deal?
I'd done my research, dug up all the dirt, it was all ready to be published.
He probably got silenced, and I feel like before he gets to tell the truth, he's gonna get silenced himself.
But you know what happened? The editor just tore up the article. He came under pressure from the government, you mean? If our government is going to let criminals walk free, if they're gonna crush the free press, then what choice do I have but to see that justice is done myself?
Let's not forget, Memo-san, that you committed murder yourself, and you tried to lay the blame at the defendant's door. I'm sorry, but you're no better than Giselle, Brett.
Oof.
The truth is, you have no right to talk about justice at all.
I suppose. It would appear that we have reached a conclusion in this trial at last. Counsel for the defense, Ryutaro Naruhodo.
Oh. Yes, sorry, Your Excellency. Just musing in a manly way here.
It's almost unbelievable this is your first experience of the Supreme Court. It was an excellent performance. In truth, it very much reminded me of your cousin's exploits. Oh, Naruhodo's, Ryunosuke, you mean? The way he handled the trial 9 months ago and the way you handled this one gives me hope that we are genuinely entering a new era of justice in this land. It's very flattering, Your Excellency. Hearing the defense you put forward today made me feel most keenly that the future of our justice system will be forged by you and your contemporaries. Thank you. So, Prosecutor Aoshi, do you have any final thoughts? What? Wait a second. I've played Yakuza 0. That's a knife, isn't it? Is he gonna, like... No, there's no way they'd have that in this game. He's not gonna cut off his finger. Is he gonna, like, frickin' cut off all his hair or something? Or his top knot, or his little frickin' bud at the front? Prosecutor Aoshi? I like how none of us even realized that he had that until it showed him with it on the table. I, Taketsuchi Aoshi of the Aoshi clan, have been bested by a callow youth not once now, but twice. If there were any shred of my former self left, it is withered and died here today. Gosh, your journey to cultural enlightenment sure took a while, didn't it? Silence! Rather than living on in shame, I will end it all now with this blade. For that is the true path to Aochiism. Aochiism? One hopes that that's the only way in which he'll be modeling himself after the witness. Sprig of my top knot. The time is right for farewell. Hope is lost forever. Taketsuchi. Why are you playing frickin' Cosmo's theme for this dude? There he goes. The most manly thing I've ever seen in Ace Attorney. I take back what I said. Everyone pray. It was truly worthy. I have never seen such a graceful end to a trial. Now, in regard to the defendant, Rei Membami-san. Yes, Your Excellency. I have reached my final verdict. I hereby find you not guilty. Hooray! Court is adjourned. What an end to a trial. 13th of August, 2:38 p.m. Supreme Court of Judicature. Defendant's Antechamber 3. It's over. My heart is still pounding in my chest, though. It's all I can do just to stay standing. Our bro, the man, the myth, the legend. Lawyers have such great abilities, don't they, Naruhodo-san? Sorry. There's great responsibility, such a great burden to bear. Don't they, Naruhodo-san? I accidentally skipped that line. That was kind of important. Susato! Thank you so much. You were so dashing in there. Rei and Father. Honestly, I'm so touched by everything you've... Oh no, I think I'm gonna cry.
It wasn't easy, but together we made it. I was on the verge of tears at the end, too. The only reason I'm still here is because of you. Oh no, I can't take all the credit. It took courage to tell the truth in there. You did wonderfully, Ray. So I would have to say that the congratulations belong to you. Susato, don't be so standoffish. Sorry? We're friends. Equals, and the trial's over. So no more of this formal humility nonsense. Man, it really took me a while to pronounce that word. It's time to celebrate with swagger. To throw caution to the wind. Caution to the... what? I'm the great defense lawyer Ryutaro Naruhodo, and I'm taking you out to the milk bar tomorrow. Milk bar? What is this, Majora's Mask? Or something. Right, I see. Think about it, Ray. At any rate, we really knocked the wind out of that horrid man, and it felt so good. Yes, it was satisfying. It really was. Is there anyone else we could throw together?
I hope you're not looking at me, Ray.
That would be pretty hilarious to see. Oh my goodness. No, of course not. Of course not. Ah, there it is at last. Ray's lovely smile.
You fought for your friends to the very last. I fight for my friends. As your father, I'm extremely proud of you. Defense attorney Ryutaro Naruhodo.
Thank you, but I couldn't have done it without your help. Anyway, it's time to bid farewell to Ryutaro, I think. I shall miss him in a way, but it's back to Susato Mikotoba now. Yo, can you keep the hat, though? The hat looked real good on you, Susato, not gonna lie. So, I'll never see him again then. What a terrible shame.
What? Who was that? Oh, these two.
What is happening? Ah, Soseki-san and Inspector Hosonaga. I do hope you've been keeping well. Yes, I had to change my appearance for, well, obvious reasons, I hope, but it's me.
Oh shoot, I'm rolling. Okay, apparently I paused the recording and I didn't even realize it. Sorry. Okay, let's get back into it. Sorry, I had to leave for like hours on end there, and I just came back and I was deleting stuff in Task Manager, and here we are. Anyways, let's continue.
Susato Mikotoba.
Good lord. How long was I rowing for? Like a minute? At least I wasn't rowing for like an hour. I don't. So dashing. Oh wait, sorry, that's still Soseki. So dashing, so divine. No. Doubly dashing, yes, and devilishly divine. Just look at you. I had no idea, Mr. Sato-san Esquires, that you were locum student Naruhodo-san Esquire's cousin. Astonishingly astounding ace attorney.
Yo, this is gonna be some thumbnail material for this episode, not gonna lie. Poor Soseki-san. So confused. I still remember the first time I ever met him. He was in a prison cell in London. What an extraordinary conundrum it was that the unwitting student from Japan found himself embroiled in. Gotta give those flashbacks for people that weren't there for the first game. But after Naruhodo-san's skillful defense at the Old Bailey, Soseki-san was free to return to Japan. And now he seems to have earned himself great fame as an author.
I'm stunned. That's a truly impressive disguise. Even I had no idea, and I'm a chief inspector at the police bureau. Who came up with Mr. Turtle, no less. Mr. Turtle is the best thing you have ever created. I'm not sure you should be admitting to that, Inspector. Amazing. You're a woman of many faces, I see.
Just two, really. And this was a once-in-a-lifetime event, I hope. Oh, I'm not a patch on you, though, Inspector.
Well, I am a professional, of course.
I do worry about Inspector Hosonaga sometimes. I really do. Back to case 1 and 2. 9 months ago, when he appeared here at the Supreme Court to testify, he was undercover disguised as the head waiter of a restaurant. And then on the steamship to Great Britain, of course, disguised as a sailor to keep us safe on our journey. Though that didn't help you, did it, Kazuma-sama?
From my perspective, I have to admit that I have mixed feelings about all this. I mean, now the truth has been lost forever.
What do you mean?
I'm talking about the murder that the English woman committed at the end of last year.
Ah, yes. Sorry. It was an English doctor she killed, as I understand it.
Dr. John H. Wilson, yes. The man I invited to Japan personally.
The mystery is, why did she kill him? And now that the culprit herself is dead, we'll probably never know the answer. On the voyage to Great Britain, we had a most unexpected encounter. With Mr. Herlock Sholmes, the great detective, I mean.
Yes, I remember Mr. Sholmes well, of course.
Ah, my arch-nemesis. How lightly you utter his name. Well, according to the stories published about him in The Adventures of Herlock Sholmes, the detective once had a partner who helped him solve crimes, a best friend. And that man was an exceptional doctor of medicine by the name of John H. Wilson. What? Dr. Wilson? I just can't believe that it's a coincidence. I think that the English doctor of medicine killed here in Japan 9 months ago must have been the friend and partner of Mr. Sholmes. Spill the beans, Papa. And if that's really true, then the poor girl won't ever see her beloved father again.
Poor Iris. As you know, I traveled to Great Britain once myself to study. It was around the time you were born.
Yes, grandmother told me about it.
On returning to Japan, I took up my professorship at the Imperial Yume University. But I also serve another role, as an advisor to the government on diplomatic affairs.
Yes, I was aware of that as well.
In that case, I'm sure you understand that there are some confidential matters I cannot divulge to you.
Yep. Considering what we learned at the end of last game, I'm not surprised that this is confidential. Could you just tell me one thing? Why did you summon me back to Japan? It's been 2 months now since I returned. When I left England, it was because an urgent telegram had arrived from Japan. It said that you'd collapsed with a high fever and you were growing weaker by the day. What? Where did that news come from? That's what I'd like to know. Because after that long sea voyage, I found you in fine health, Father. Was there something in Great Britain that you perceived might inconvenience me in some way? Or harm me? That's really the only explanation I can think of.
Dear me. Do you reserve your most cutting glares for your father, Susato? I'm sorry, my dear. I simply can't... Ah! Let me go! Oh, it's this dude.
Why are you here? Are you supposed to be in shackles? Many memos-san? So, one throw wasn't enough for you.
I've got one last thing to say before they take me away. Professor! Me? I know the truth. I know you had a hand in what went on. In that visiting students of fate. The visiting student? Giselle Brett, you mean? No, not her. The student of law who left for Great Britain 8 months ago.
Do you mean Ryunosuke or Asogi? What? Student of law? He must mean Kazuma-sama. Oh, right. What are you talking about? What does any of this have to do with Kazuma-sama?
Nobody here in Japan knows anything about it. They don't know that that guy never made it to England, that he died on that steamship, and that he'll never... Oh, well, I didn't expect to find him in here.
The judge just threw him? I wasn't expecting... I'm sorry.
I wasn't expecting the judge to do something like that of all characters. Oh, man. Yo, this judge is an S-tier character right here. Oh, that came out of left field. What were you officers playing at? I don't even remember if that's my voice. Terribly sorry, Your Excellency. Here. I feel like the bailiffs are some of the few characters that I can actually withstand to give funny voices because of their lack of lines. Man, feels weird seeing the judge not having a front-facing model. I was coming to tell you that the rickshaw has arrived, Eugen, and it's a good job I came by. Yes, thank you for dealing with them, and I'll be there shortly.
Oh, Your Excellency.
The trial's over, I'm not Your Excellency anymore. Merely your father's friend. Seishiro Jigoku.
His last name is Hell? That is raw. One might say it's raw as hell. It's raw as Jigoku. I don't know what his first name means, though. Seishiro. Shiro means white. I don't know what the sei means. Ten means heaven. So it's not heaven and hell. Or maybe it is. I don't know. And may I say that since I saw you last, you seem to have taken on a more dashing appearance, Susato. Did you know all along from the start of the trial?
A judge sees everything, Susato. I couldn't let you take the risk. If Seishiro here hadn't known, and then he'd recognized you. So I had a word in his ear beforehand, as an old friend. So, Seishiro, shall we? Yes, having ruled on that case, we now have various diplomatic issues to address.
Before you go, Father.
Sorry, my dear, we shall have to return to our earlier conversation at a later date.
But when is that later date?
But well done again, both of you. You did admirably.
Oh, thank you very much.
What did you think of my Seishiro's sling, eh? It's been a while since I sent a man flying like that.
You did amazing, my man. You're a legend. Good lord, I was not expecting to see the judge out of trial. Whatever could Father be hiding from me? About Giselle Brett, about Dr. Wilson. And now it seems, according to the reporter, about Kazuma-sama. There's a lot to uncover, and I guess it'll have to wait till later. I'm gonna have to bring this up with Father sometime, when nobody else is around. Oh, hi, Sosuke.
Judicial Assistant Mikotoba-san Esquires, could I have a word?
Oh, yes, of course, Sosuke-san. What is it?
I think perhaps it could be fate that we're meeting again like this now. You see... There's something I need to tell you.
Oh?
I believe that it may be related to the reason why your father summoned you back from England.
This I have to hear. Please, Sosuke-san, tell me at once.
I will.
Okay. Sosuke, the lad, the myth, the legend.
As you know, my time in England was terrible. Cursed, I have no doubt. Such awful things I was embroiled in. Thank goodness Locum Student Naruhodo Naruhodo-san Esquire stepped in. I forgot that that's one of the things that this game does, is that if they're talking in Japanese, they'll put stuff like san and stuff at the end of names, honorifics, I should say. Because back in the first game, we never heard Soseki put the san. I was so used to the rhythm of locum student Naruhodo Esquire, but it's Naruhodo-san Esquire. After we secured my freedom, I couldn't wait to get on a ship back here to my homeland. Having arrived in Japan, I submitted a report about my experiences to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. The next thing I knew, I had a visitor. It was your father, Professor Mikotoba. He wanted to ask me all sorts of things about my report.
My father?
He seemed to be especially taken with a particular part of the report. Anyway, he left eventually, having thoroughly quizzed me. But it was the very next day that he sent a telegram to you asking you to return to Japan.
What was it then? The particular part my father was interested in.
Oh boy. I don't really know exactly. But do you remember them? Those two terrible cases I was caught up in?
Of course, I can never forget.
Your father seemed to concern himself mainly with the second case.
The second one? You mean the one Mr. Sholmes forbade any of us to talk about in public?
What second case? We only had one case of Soseki. That was the fourth case of the last game.
What? Which is why the only case involving you that any member of the public is aware of is the first?
Wait, what? Well, I don't care. I don't have to listen to what that dastardly detective says. Anyway, the point is, seems that case somehow holds the key to all these curious unanswered questions. That horrific, hideous, heinous crime. The case of the haunted lodgings.
Huh? Haunted lodgings? That case somehow caused my father to summon me urgently back to Japan? I thought that whole business was over, but it seems I was wrong. Perhaps that was only the start. Perhaps the story is not yet told.
What? Is that the end of the case? What? Oh, we're back to the tree.
So, the mystery of that English woman's death is solved, thank goodness. And having stood in the Supreme Court now, I think I can comprehend a little better. How you must be feeling as you fight for people's freedom in a foreign land, Naruhodo-san. But actually, I'm writing to you today because of another matter. I met Soseki-san and we talked about that second case he was involved in. Father has said nothing to me, but I feel certain of it. That case holds the key to some great unsolved mystery. My notes on the case should still be in the office, tucked away at the back of the shelves on the left. Perhaps you might like to look over them again. Today, for the first time this year, it feels as though summer has arrived. The sky is a brilliant blue. It makes me long to see you again. Yours, Susato.
And with that, the case comes to an end. The first case of many. Let us save and end things off. Next time on Great Ace Attorney 2 Resolve, we go on to Episode 2, The Memoirs of the Clouded Kokoro. Adios, ciao, and bye-bye. Signing off until next time. Ja, mata ne.